Uh, Welcome everyone to Gordium, where we generate, evaluate, uh-oh, and execute on startup ideas. I hit the wrong button. My screen went away. Today we're going to be talking about how travel prices are complicated. This really reminds me a lot of a problem we just talked about, which is that finding an apartment is hard because it's so multifaceted. This is also multifaceted, and really I'm thinking about this because I am traveling by car to Indiana from California. And so what I'm running into, what really brought my attention to this problem is, so for a section of the trip, we're going to be staying in Oklahoma. I'm trying to decide between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. And there's a $200 a night difference between Tulsa and Oklahoma City. I just think that's such a huge difference. And if I hadn't just attempted to see what Oklahoma City was costing versus Tulsa, I would never have known. And so these travel prices are so complicated. There's so many factors that go into this. There's like let me see. I think let's get some levers going here. There's the mode of transportation, right? So I have a dog. So the mode of transportation that's generally most convenient for me is a car, because I can bring my dog. But you can fly, you could take a train, which is just not very common in the United States. So you have the cost of the mode of transportation, right? So you're looking at gas prices versus
What about
airlines.
boat? Take a boat from LA down to Panama, across the canal, up the Mississippi, and then the White River is non-navigable. So I guess walk the rest of the way.
That sounds great, Neil. I think
Yeah.
that's a great idea. I was thinking though we could go through the Panama Canal, or you could go up through the Arctic, down into Lake Michigan somehow.
Yeah.
Right. And then from there we could walk. Because as you pointed out, the White River is navigable. Can't say that word.
Yep.
So you got mode of transportation, which has different cost consideration. Then you have routes, which is, I mean, whether you're talking about planes or hotels, like, oh my God, it's so complicated because there's so many different routes, like, and there's so many different factors. Like, I wish I had known. So LAX is a pretty complicated airport, whereas Burbank is super small and much closer to where we live in Los Angeles. And there's a real trade-off though in costs, and so it's so hard to figure out when is Burbank going to be cost effective versus LAX? How much of a cost difference does the convenience of Burbank, equate? These decisions can have like multiple $100 differences, and then I think like place to stay. So like there's just so many degrees of freedom here when you're talking about solving this problem. So we're driving through St. Louis, and I'm going to stay overnight there because it means we don't have to do a 12-hour drive, and I have family there, so it's free to stay. So there's just so much going on that like you think about family. Like I think my fiance technically has family in Arizona, but are they close enough that we could stay the night with a dog? It's like, oh my God, it just gets so freaking complicated. Are there any other pricing things though that I'm missing here? I think you got the mode of transportation, route,
time.
Oh yeah.
Like, what's your time window and when can you leave?
Yeah, when can you leave? How much flexibility you have? Because again, this can change price. So recently, my brother, shout out to him, was on the Laugh Factory, which is crazy. That's where like Tiffany Haddish and Kevin Hart got their start. He was on there last night. I was going to go see him in Chicago, but it's spring break, so flights are like $1,000, so I wasn't able to go. Whereas if it had been in a different week, it probably, LAX to Chicago can be, I've seen $60, a $60 flight. So yeah, And it's hard to know this. Like I'm looking at honeymoon stuff, and it's like, when would the best price? We're probably going to go to the Bahamas. It's like, when would the best price be? I have no idea. When do people travel there? You know, because it could be a huge difference.
Yep.
1 month to another.
Yeah.
Well, I think in places to stay, you've got Airbnb, you've got Vrbo now, you've got hotel chains, you have local hotels. You know, like it's
Well,
just a mess.
and then they all have different like pricing schemes.
Yeah, you have kayak, yeah, and then these, yeah.
Right.
How do you
where
mean they
it's
have
like
different pricing schemes? Yeah,
like Airbnb has just tons of like, I don't want to say hidden fees, but non-list
it
price
does. It
fees.
does. Yeah,
Right. So it's
yeah,
like, oh,
exactly.
sweet, this is $50, and then a $20
No,
cleaning fee, and tax,
it's
and
actually
it's 100, and it's like,
100
okay,
or
it just doubled in price. Whereas hotels, it's like, okay, it's $100, but then you've got five
$10 in
dollars
tax, and yeah, or something.
and
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that grew, but nowhere near the same rate as um yeah.
well, and then two, what's available? So Liv and I are, my fiance and I are going to Joshua Tree, and to get to a really interesting place, there is no hotel, right? If you like, what the place we ended up finding is like a private home that's rented out. That's literally like 5 minutes from the national park, and there's no hotels there. So there's, depending on where you're going, there's a difference in availability. And this is not even talking about international travel, right?
Yeah.
So like, what would that be? You've done much more of that. Is that visas and passports and
You wing it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you need to get in line to get into the country.
And then you talk about different stay options, right? When you were in Chile, for you, it was all hostels.
Yeah.
No hotels or Airbnb. So you talk about it's completely different. And you have different seasons, right? Like that's complicated to think about in Chile, right? That seasons are flipped. Is that right?
Yep.
So
it was summer.
What you might expect as the busy season could be actually inverted. This is nasty. I mean, the solution is a travel agent, right?
Yep.
That's one. Like easy but expensive, right? And they're probably they might, I don't know. I've never worked with a travel agent. I don't know if they would be able to find you better deals and stuff like that. But what I would love is a pet travel agent. I would love, so my dad, luckily for me though, found there's one hotel chain that lets pets stay, and it's Home Two Suites by, I forget, by Hilton. Yeah, so I just stay there whenever I go anywhere because I know my dog can come. That's a hack. Like imagine how many more hacks there are out there for people that, like, if you're a pet travel agent, you would know a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna add that to question. Oh, I didn't even think about that. That's another factor is who is coming. Are there pet travel? Because kids, right? That's a really complex route place to say passengers. Pets, kids, like I just, yeah, it's so interesting though. I feel like there's a lot of artificial limitations on where you can take, where like how to travel with kids. Because when we hiked Angel's Landing, which is this very terrifying hike, and there were a bunch of kids out there, and they were fine. They did great. So
Zero of them fell.
Zero of them fell. Which I'm impressed. As a child, I probably would have been very, very scared, and I was impressed with the bravery of those kids. But I mean, kids complicate things, especially when you talk about a newborn. It's just hard to travel. Or if you talk about if your children have developmental disabilities like that, now you're even more complex, you know. If you have some challenges with sensory environments, you know, can you fly? If you can't fly, then that makes things more complicated, you know. So
Yeah.
Oh, I guess work, right? Vacation time. Can you work there, you know? So internet availability. What I found really interesting, we stayed in England for a short time. In England, you have to pay for the Wi-Fi, which is kind of funny. At a hotel. Yeah. I don't know if it was cheaper, if it made that easier to do, but
Well, I'm also curious, you know, that was in the past, and how have things changed since?
that's true. That's true. I think that was in 2016.
Okay.
No, that was in 2012. God, that was 10 years ago. It's wild. I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
My teachers were not happy with me. I missed a week of finals.
Perfect.
It was really fun. I'm pretty sure I'd missed another week before that because I had a concussion. So it was a great year. I missed a lot of school. All right. It was much more than a week with the concussion, actually, now that I say that. What other solution do we have? A travel agent?
Well, you just have
yeah.
a permutation generator.
Like Slate Permutate.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so surprised there's no Slate Permutate for travel.
Yep.
I bet it's because they don't want you to do. I mean, I guess Kayak attempts this, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Let me poke at Kayak.
I
What
mean,
does that look like?
they have permutate for like flight
Oh, they
windows.
do?
Yeah, so it can give you a grid, you know, and it's the cheapest flight.
Oh, you're right.
You
You're
know,
right. Yeah.
leaving this day, this day, this day, returning this day, this day, this day.
Well, Google Flights has a little bit of this. Have the pricing grid.
Yep.
Which something, but
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't. Oh, and then this is interesting that you can pick a city. I think your age though adds to this. So like, you know, I'm renting a car to drive back,
Mm-hmm.
and that adds a lot of fees. That's a bummer. This is interesting how they're doing this though. So life. Yeah, I just don't think kayak solves. I have you used kayak? Like, what do you use to plan a trip?
Kayak.
You do. Do you
For
like it a
flights?
lot?
For flights,
For
yeah.
flights? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've never used it for flights. I'm not flying really anywhere recently or soon.
Yeah.
Huh, this is nice though. That's a really nice, like with restrictions, like figuring that out. That's really helpful. Did you use this for your trip to Chile?
No.
No.
No,
Oh my God, you just went. Oh.
I mean, that doesn't really help you that much, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I guess if you're agnostic and you don't care where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it helps you a little bit, but no, it's like, can you even get in here? Okay, here's what you need to do. And then you just do that.
I had a friend that just came back from Colombia. He really liked it. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. That was interesting to look at. I'm trying to think if there's anything else past this.
I think ideally it's, you know, you have Siri or Google Assistant and you sort of enter parameters. This is futuristic, but you know, you say, I want to go drive from, you know, my house to my old house. And I want to leave on this date-ish. And then they figure out the best.
So this is basically like a virtual travel agent.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. Well, and you know, now that I'm thinking about it, there's another thing, which is when do you pay? right? So for rental cars, if you pay now, you get like $100 off versus paying closer to the time.
Yeah.
And that trade-off, you can play that game. If you're uncertain about the trip, it might make sense to pay later. Your expected value.
Yeah, mostly Neil
Oh,
always just loses when he plays those games.
do you just pay later then and pay more money?
I don't know.
Oh,
No,
well, I guess you lose
usually
either way you've done it.
Usually I say I need to look at these as connected bets, as what Kahneman would say, and then I just lose all of them.
Yeah, that did happen with Chile.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have any
Yeah.
travel connections. Doctors are inefficient. Make it simple to see friends. I don't know if we have much around this. I'm kind of bummed that we don't. I guess this is similar to there's no visual way to explore the internet. Like this is something that's difficult to visualize.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like a visualization problem.
Yeah.
But it's also an optimization problem.
Well, it's an optimization problem in a higher dimensional space. So that's why it's hard to visualize.
Optimization problem in a higher dimensional space. That sounds really smarty pants. Okay. I am ready to rate this. If you are,
Yeah.
I think I've got my ratings. Okay, yeah.
Motivation. I give a 0.
Yeah, I give it a 2. I am really troubled by this problem. I'm tired of dealing with it, and I feel like I'm going to deal with it a lot going forward. I've got my speed to test.
0.
I think it's a 1. I think there's a lot you could do. I think the virtual travel agent, as a test, you could use Cypress and just, which is basically simulates websites for you. You could just have it check. You could do a dumb version of this.
Mm-hmm.
Impacts.
I give it a 0.
I think it's a 1. I think a lot of people travel. I think this would change the way people travel. I think travel is important.
I think the solution is, instead of being so tight-fisted about it, is just be
spending money. Like say, yeah.
Like say, okay, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some, and in the end, you'll be okay.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think what gets me though is the latent possibilities that are left out. I think that's really I think there's a lot of easy wins here, a lot of 80-20 type of easy wins that just are low hanging fruit.
What do you mean?
Like Tulsa versus Oklahoma City. Like I'm going to save $200 on that. And it was just because I randomly checked.
Well, question for you. What would it be if, instead of saying, you're saying I am now, months ahead from this, I'm going to book my traveling now. What would it be like if you're like, I don't know how far I'm going to drive today, and you get to, OKC and you're like, or you get to Tulsa and you're like, well, shoot, this is really expensive. I'm going to drive for another half hour and find a hotel a half hour outside the city. Right? And you get to a very similar position. Or even that morning, you're like, okay, I am here. I'm feeling pretty good today. I think I can drive, 10 hours. Okay, I look 10 hours out, and that's Tulsa, and you're like, oh crap.
So, yeah.
Right? I think, the solution is not necessarily like orchestrate everything. It's to play jazz.
Yeah. Plan less and make like compass adjustments.
Yeah.
So like Pick the next best option. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's what I've tried to do is put myself in that spot. So I like thought about, okay, I'm driving out, it's a Thursday. I'm gonna end work at 4. Okay, so like at that time I probably have like 4 or 5 hours of me. Where can I get to?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Well,
Kingman,
and
Arizona. Sweet.
I
Yeah.
think, for you with a dog, that adds another
Yeah.
wrinkle.
Well, it just makes it simpler actually. Because it's like, okay, I have to stay at home 2 suites. And there's only so many of those.
Yeah.
So, which there might not actually be one in Oklahoma City, which would be a big bummer. But yeah, I do want to. It would be fun to travel from. I'm just thinking about this to go. We've always gone to the southern route. It'd be fun to go up this way. And kind of drive through South Dakota. Probably wouldn't be that much longer. Anyhow, what's our category? It's a not or not now.
Oh dear. No, I don't think. I'm not sure.
Let's see. Low to medium, high impact. It's not high
No.
impact, is it? Low to medium. Probably, right?
Yeah.
So probably just another not now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because that would have to be medium to high and medium to high. Yeah. Okay. I think we can start to put numbers on those soon. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, folks.